Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching the Sandman, apparently.
Surprise, episode 11.
Season 1, episode 11.
Dream of a Thousand Cats and Calliope. It's like a two-parter.
Mm-hmm. Really good. I had it ruined that this existed a couple days ago because Trixie and Katya, we like to watch their show, Queens Who Like to Watch, and they react to Netflix things, and they reacted to Sandman. And unfortunately, I didn't get to see it while it was live. But apparently people were watching it, and then they started showing footage that we hadn't seen before about giant cats being groomed by naked ladies. And everyone was sort of like,
So, if you'll recall, back 2 weeks, it has said 11 episodes the entire time. But then there were only 10 on Netflix.
I think you might have said that.
And the 11th one didn't have, like, a synopsis, so I just assumed it was, like, a mistake, and it was gonna be, like, it was... You know, they sometimes are like 11 episodes, but the 11th one is for season 2. Mm-hmm. I kind of thought it was like that. So
I wonder if this was their original plan.
I don't know, maybe.
Because it's weird. I think it's odd to drop it 2 weeks after the fact.
Yeah, I don't know.
However, this show, I think, would have been a good one for Netflix to dabble in.
Weekly.
And maybe not necessarily one episode per week.
But a couple chunks.
Yeah, I really think it would have benefited the show. I'm nervous because I just know how expensive it is, and I'm just desperate for the entire series, and I do not believe that there's any reality.
I don't have I don't have like a ton of faith in Netflix anymore.
In heaven or this earth that will happen. I think it's a 50-50 shot we get a season 2. And I think that is it.
Well, I also was going to say, best case scenario, it ends on an extreme cliffhanger in season 3, and then it gets canceled.
Well, if we're following the Netflix model. It is a co-production, but that bodes against it as far as Netflix is concerned. It's Warner Brothers?
Yeah. And we all know what HBO Max is up to right now.
I'm melancholy.
We're at that place. We're at that streaming bubble burst place. It's any minute now.
It's just so perfect. It's just so good. This is everything that I've ever wanted from a TV show.
Yeah.
And I just can't even enjoy it because of my fear of it being taken away from me. And that's not the way we should be treating it. But
I don't know. It's been number 1 in like 90 countries for 2 weeks.
It's number 2 now because never have I ever dethroned it. And that costs like $50.
Wow. Don't speak ill. That's Mindy Kaling. That show's amazing.
It still costs like $50. Netflix is going to renew that over this.
No, it's over. It was 3rd and done.
It's going to renew something like that over this. I just don't have, I don't know.
Let's talk about these episodes.
Did you like this?
I did, yeah. I liked the second part a little more than the first part. But the first part was cool, and I liked how they did it.
I keep saying this. I hope that nobody gets annoyed or mad at me, but it reminds me of American Gods. Yeah. I think this is, so I think honestly, I think I liked American Gods more, but I think this is cleaner. I think this is more polished than American Gods got unwieldy. Yeah. But they would do this thing that I loved that I've come to understand as a Neil Gaiman special where you'll get vignettes just dropped into grander stories. And sometimes characters may seem like a one-off, but then they're in more, or they could even be everywhere. You just never know. And so the cat thing, it very much reminded me of the Somewhere in America stories. And I thought it was a fun thought experiment. I, for personal and moral reasons, kind of hated it.
Sure.
We always thought that we were allergic to cats. My mom and me historically have always been allergic to cats. And we were adopted 3 years ago, by a stray cat or possibly a fae. Rachel is like, it's not, she's not a cat. That is an entity. Yeah. She teleported into our attic. We don't know. She was trapped in the attic one day, and we've yet to find how she got in there because there's not, nothing.
An access point.
So she came out of the attic and then just stayed. And so as such, I've researched and looked it up, and cats need to be taken care of. The outside cats have a lifespan of like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And so they're domesticated for a reason. So I sort of had to, or it's like they're domesticated. Yeah. They can't just, so I sort of had to put that aside and think about it from the metaphor, the
cat's
lens
perspective,
of what it means about freedom and what it means about, how mankind treats animals, holds dominion over animals and stuff. And
that Michael Sheen character can fuck right off.
That's like a cliche.
He drowned the kittens.
You were.
He put them in a sack with a brick
it's a cliche.
And drowned them. I know. It's horrible.
There's Disney cartoons that open that way.
I know. It's horrible. They're teeny tiny kittens.
The little kitten. What was the lead kitten?
Shit. She's just called the Tabby kitten. She was very cute. Jesus.
I even got a little misty-eyed at the end where she was like, I believe.
Yeah.
And then the Siamese says, then there's still hope.
Yeah.
Elegantly played by Sandra Oh.
She's called the Prophet.
Mm-hmm. No, I really enjoyed the mysticism and the thought, the exploration of it, the fantasy, the Neil Gaiman cameo. I like that we properly met Pegasus, Griffin, and Wavrin.
Yeah. Neil Gaiman does have such a good voice, too, for, narration.
And the animation was nice. It was beautiful. I was a little bit afraid it was going to be that I couldn't handle the what if animation.
Oh.
I thought it was too janky.
I
And
liked it.
this didn't. That's so weird to me because it would think the part of you that can't watch 3D movies would have been utterly.
No, because it looked like a comic strip come to life. So it reminded me more of Into the Spider-Verse.
I don't know. I really enjoyed this animation, and I enjoy the whimsy, and I thoroughly enjoy how he can sweep us away on these epic adventures. And I did enjoy the giant cats playing with the naked people.
It was funny.
And that very funny note about she's dreaming. Aw.
And she's very clearly dreaming about a world where she can be bigger than people and eat them.
Mercifully for us, it was only like 15 minutes, 10 minutes. Yeah. Because there was part of me that was like, I don't know if this can sustain.
This is 32. It's like if it's a half and half, and it's 32 minutes of this runtime.
And then the second one was
Calliope,
the Muse Calliope. I really loved this one.
Yeah, I loved it. I bold move to give Dream a former Muse lover, who together they had the child Orpheus of the Orpheus and Eurydice myth. I loved all of that. I didn't love the implications that you have to brutalize this muse in order to get the stuff out of her.
I loved it. Because...
Well, you're not supposed to. She's supposed to be giving her gift, but it's like Derek Jacobi and Arthur Darvill were had stolen her, and so that it didn't work that way.
And I absolutely loved how they handled it.
Sure, yes, it was
we didn't have to see it.
Oh God, yeah,
and it was implication extremely effective, and just the shot of him going to her and then cutting back frenzied, writing with his clothes torn and the scratch, and I really loved it, and I think it's relevant to the source material, the context.
Yeah.
It was she was Lita from
Melisanthe Mahout.
She was really great. I was glad to see her in something else.
She's in Eurovision.
She's a very funny character in Eurovision.
But she was fantastic in this. Really, really good.
And there was also a just spectacular scene of her praying to the fates. It was it was so beautiful.
And it was the same ones from the
they were as worthless as ever, but they're very vibes and atmosphere. Yeah. They're sort of just here for the food.
Well, the other thing too that I like so much about this series, and one of the reasons why I desperately hope that it is going to continue for a decent amount of time, is that they are this is happening to her at this the whole time she's been imprisoned is encompassed within the entire time that Dream has also been imprisoned. So she manages to find out that he is awake again, and she calls to him, and that's how he finds out.
I loved.
Oh my God, his reaction to her whole situation. It was hot.
Yeah.
It was so hot.
It did. The parallels between the situation and the shading and information it did for him. When you consider how little he was in this.
Yeah.
And yet I'm so much more drawn in and endeared to him.
Yeah.
But he's still somehow just as mysterious.
Exactly, yes. And the fact that he's like, she's like, I know you've suffered too. It broke my heart when I found out what happened to you. And he was like, my suffering is nothing compared to what you've been through. And then he literally, without saying the actual words, he was like, I will burn down the ground for what happened to you. It's good. It's good.
And it is precisely what I want from immortal beings. The fact that they are so clearly not lovers anymore, but they will always be. It's like lovers. It just like there was something about it, and they both had the gravitas that I need. I wish her muse dress was a little bit more schmancy. It was very on the nose, like
a white toga.
Anyone who knows me, I'm just.
I mean, you know what?
I was like, give us some, because she's Calliope is the muse of novels, basically, epic poetry. And I sort of, there was a comic book called The 10th Muse, and I liked how they looked in that, and they had like little like gizmos that like the globe and the harp. And I always liked terpsichore. She's the muse of the dance. It's something that I noticed about Neil Gaiman and what he does. It's like, I love how he can tell me a story that I've heard a million times, and yet it still feels fresh.
Yeah.
Because it was obvious what was happening the entire time. And there's a part of me where I'm like, dude, let her go.
The thing is like,
give it to
exactly that.
There's a metaphor here.
I was like, you guys, because that's the thing too, is like you find out partway through.
It'll be on her terms is the problem.
Well,
you might only get one, but I would take one.
The way it
I'll take
goes.
One hit.
That is the way the cookie crumbles. And the thing too is that he finds out partway through, after he's having this enormous success, that Derek Jacobi's character has killed himself since he last saw him. The Bezoar part at the beginning,
what the fuck was that?
Had really nothing to do with anything. Whatever. But it's just sort of like, what makes you think you're not going to kill yourself after this and you have no ideas left because you've been taking them by force as opposed to letting them happen naturally?
Also, I like that something that as lame sounding as like death by too many good ideas was actually so realized.
Yeah.
And just the things he was spouting, I was like, oh God, stop.
I kind of liked two women take a weasel on vacation.
I didn't get that one. The one for me was the bus full of deaf women.
No, mute women
being driven by a blind man. And I was like, talk about a thought experiment.
There were a lot of them. They were kind of fun. And then he was just like spouting off like words towards the end. But yeah, I don't know. I quite enjoyed it. And I love Arthur Darvill. He was on Doctor Who when it was Matt Smith. So he's like in my favorite group of them.
Of all the people at his party.
Oh God. Okay. The party, once he got like success again with the second book, he was ridiculous. Like so horrible, fake feminist, like so crazy. And he was on the phone in front of this woman he's keeping prisoner. And he's like, no, it absolutely has to be 50% women and people of color. And then we have to publicize it so they can't back out when it's due to hiring. And then he just sort of like gives her like kind of a nod and walks out the room. And I'm like, you son of a bitch.
The one that I like gagged was the how do you write the such strong women? And it was like all the strong women in my life. First, I was like, you
got a broad upstairs locked in your room. Like, obviously.
Well, because it reminds me of, I think it's George R. R. Martin. Is he the one who's like, I don't know, I always thought of women as people. So it was never a problem for me.
I mean, he's not perfect, but he does write strong women. Yeah. Women of different strengths as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really
I'm also shocked
it.
shocked that he did not come down on those
Yeah, the wrought iron fences.
So it that then was either, because we thought for sure, I was like, it's going right through his neck. So it either was just a flourish and or
well, that's what those houses look like in London. Yeah.
And or a fake out, which those are fun too.
Yeah. Definitely.
Especially when done well, which it was. So
it was quite well. I was so happy for this just extra little.
I wish we were getting another one in 2 weeks.
Because I sort of expected it to be like when you found out that there was an extra episode, I was actually thinking it was going to be like a Christmas special, like they were going to release it at Christmas, but apparently not. So we'll see you in 4 years for more Sandman.
And then never again.
And then never again. Oh boy.
Love it. 10 out of 10.
All right. Well, we'll see you around. Bye.